Democrats about demanding this person get locked up and this person be tried and this person go away. But something's got to be done for Adam Schiff, because he created 3 years of a massive fallacy that did so much damage to this country and made us miss probably one of the most important stories of our lifetime. We were having hearings on impeachment while the coronavirus was exploding. We talked about that virus in green rooms, but we had to do this impeachment story. We had to show these hearings. It's all on him, man. He's got to go. They got to investigate him. They got to hold him accountable. I'm not going to say he should go to prison, but my evil twin will say he should go away to prison for a very long time.
Greg Gutfeld just torched Adam Schiff's reputation with a verbal flamethrower, leaving no corner untouched. In a takedown so ruthless it deserved a hazard sign, Gutfeld dismantled Schiff's ego piece by piece, combining surgical precision with the unrelenting energy of a comic on a roll. If you thought Schiff had skeletons in the closet, Gutfeld revealed an entire haunted mansion, all while wielding sarcasm sharp enough to slice through steel.
Been much more clear about how he unleashed the impeachment circus. Note, when a politician says they should be much more clear, they mean, I wish you hadn't caught me lying to your face.
I should have been much more clear, and I said so the minute it was brought to my attention, that I was referring to the fact that when the whistleblower filed the complaint, we had not heard from the whistleblower. We wanted to bring the whistleblower in at that time, but I should have been much more clear about that.
You know, instead of trying to be clear, it might just save time if you just decided to be honest. Otherwise, it's like Hunter Biden saying that although he did nothing wrong, he's not going to do it anymore.
Greg Gutfeld has never needed a velvet glove to smack down the ridiculous. He walked into the spotlight, mic in hand, with that signature smirk already locked in place like a butcher sizing up a slab of spoiled bologna. And when the target was Adam Schiff, that smirk turned razor sharp, bordering on delighted. Because roasting the bug-eyed prophet of endless investigations isn't a game of chess or checkers for Gutfeld. It's about flipping the whole board and tossing the pieces. After all, what else do you do when your opponent still treats the Russian dossier like it's a nightly lullaby?
Years ago, but my question is, where is the legitimate reckoning for this 5-year hoax? Like, what can you do? Because clearly he's not going to be voted out. This guy thinks he's going to run. And by the way, why does he keep saying erection instead of insurrection? What's up with that?
Gutfeld kicked things off by sketching Adam Schiff not as a man, but as a human subpoena, someone who treats weekends like sacred time for alphabetizing conspiracy theories, while murmuring sweet nothings to a framed photo of Robert Mueller, while the rest of the world let Russiogate fade into the rearview. Schiff dragged it along like a toddler clinging to a threadbare security blanket, frayed, drool-stained, and long past its prime. And Gutfeld, he was just getting started.
The resolution adopted. Without objection, the motion to consider is laid on the table. House will be in order. The House will be in order. I have all night.
I have all night.
Gutfeld didn't need a courtroom to launch this roast. He laid out Schiff's public persona like a brutal Yelp review. Picture a face frozen in permanent Stundle mode, paired with a voice that always sounds like it's pleading with a librarian to commit a felony. Add in a delivery so dry it's a fire hazard, and you've got Schiff a la Gutfeld, less statesman, more ghostly Victorian child, channeling indictments through a Ouija board. When he talks about democracy, it's like he's trying to sell you expired yogurt with "Trust Me" stamped on the label in Comic Sans.
Filed the complaint. We have not heard from the whistleblower. We wanted to bring the whistleblower in at that time, but I should have been much more clear about that.
You know, instead of trying to be clear, it might just save time if you just decided to be honest. Otherwise, it's like Hunter Biden saying that although he did nothing wrong, he's not going to do it anymore. Hunter says he's no longer going to work for China because we found out, he was working for China. So Schiff champions transparency, all the while saying the whistleblower might not testify.
And let's not pretend Gutfeld overlooked the golden era of Schiff's obsession. He zeroed in on those congressional hearings where Schiff carried himself like he had the nuclear codes. Scribbled in invisible ink on a post-it note hidden in his shoe, Gutfeld skewered the dramatic pauses, the pointed eyebrow raises, the phony gravitas that dissolved the moment you realized Schiff's definition of evidence barely outpaced a fortune cookie's wisdom. If Schiff were a magician, his grand finale would be pulling nothing out of a hat than accusing the hat of treason. Gutfeld painted a vivid picture of Schiff holed up in his office, surrounded by corkboards and red string, connecting headlines like he was cracking the case of Bigfoot's offshore accounts. The man spent years treating every coffee stain like it was proof of Russian collusion. And when reality finally roundhouse kicked the narrative into the dirt, Schiff doubled down like a gambler throwing chips at a horse that already exploded. That's where Gutfeld's roast cut deep. He likens Schiff to a fire alarm that only goes off when the room is full of fire extinguishers, always blaring at the wrong time, for the wrong reasons. And when the smoke clears, there's Schiff, calmly adjusting his tie, pretending he saved the day while casually hiding a gas can behind his back. Schiff's real superpower, Gutfeld joked, wasn't rooting out corruption, it was manufacturing it. Armed with the misplaced confidence of a man who's only ever been fact-checked by his own reflection.
But I can promise you this is not the end of my fight for our democracy. This is just the beginning. Please join us and contribute today. Thank you.
Here's my question. How much will it cost for you not to run? But does Schiff even see the irony in his little video? He's talking about fighting for democracy and doing his job on the Intelligence Committee on TikTok, a Chinese-owned social media site. So Schiff is rightly getting blasted for that. And, I didn't even know Adam had a TikTok account.
Greg then turned to the visual spectacle that was Schiff's media tour, likening it to watching a man audition for the role of anxious weatherman in a community theater production nobody asked to see. Schiff would lean into the camera, drop his voice to a conspiratorial whisper, and deliver lines so cryptically vague they made horoscopes read like engineering manuals. Gutfeld tore into the routine, mocking how Schiff teased bombshells that landed with the impact of a damp tissue hitting pavement. He pointed out how Schiff always spoke with the solemn intensity of someone announcing a moon landing, only to reveal a printout from BuzzFeed. To Gutfeld, Adam Schiff was the human version of a buffering wheel, constantly promising something big, never delivering, yet somehow burning up everyone's time. Then came the piece de resistance, the moment Schiff claimed he had definitive proof of Trump-Russia collusion. Gutfeld savored the absurdity, quipping that if Schiff ever hosted a cooking show, he'd spend 28 minutes hyping a souffle, only to reveal he never turned the oven on. Schiff's evidence, Gutfeld said, was as invisible as his credibility, and about as well seated.
I'm back, baby! Pretty soon I'll have my high-backed chairman's chair again.
I don't understand. You're happy? I didn't realize you were, don't you realize that you were censored by a majority in Congress?
Yes! Isn't it wonderful? I'm very pro-censorship. Censorship. Oh my, that's hard to say. The point is, the cameras are on me again, and this time I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. DeMille.
And then there was the kicker: Schiff's endless return to cable news, even after being proven wrong time and time again. To Gutfeld, that was the biggest punchline of all. He compared it to hiring a lifeguard who's never seen water. That only figure who gets more airtime while being so reliably off the mark, he joked, might be a magic 8-ball, and even that occasionally spits out something useful. Gutfeld didn't let up when he turned to Schiff's latest act, his crusade against disinformation. The irony was almost too rich. Here was a man who had treated fantasy as policy for years, now positioning himself as the gatekeeper of truth. Gutfeld ripped into that contradiction like a raccoon going through a dumpster, no restraint, just instinct. Schiff fighting disinformation, he said, was like a mosquito launching a malaria awareness campaign. It was hypocrisy served hot, and Gutfeld made sure to smear that irony over the entire roast, like thick barbecue sauce, inviting the audience to savor every sweet, sticky contradiction. Then came the deeper cut. Gutfeld unraveled Schiff's career not as a string of poor decisions, but worse, predictable ones. He painted Schiff as the political equivalent of a broken GPS. No matter how many times you tried to reroute, he'd lead you right into a wall. According to Greg, Schiff's one true talent was making sure nothing ever got done while looking deeply concerned that something might.
Schiff got kicked to the curb, and the irony is superb. He went crying to mommy on an app run by Chinese commies. Congressman Adam Schiff announced this morning he's running for U.S. Senate in California, which is guaranteed to boost U-Haul rentals headed for...
And then there was that face Schiff's signature expression of grave concern, worn like a badge of moral superiority. Gutfeld didn't let it slide. He roasted it mercilessly, comparing it to the look of a more security guard who just discovered a spilled slushie and can't decide whether to call backup or write a dramatic poem about it. Schiff didn't radiate authority, he radiated the energy of a PBS documentary narrator, minus the charm and plus a heavy dose of delusion. Then Greg went in for the kill. He brought up Schiff's reaction to being censured, the crocodile tears. The melodramatic speech, the sanctimonious monologue that sounded less like righteous indignation and more like a guy getting banned from karaoke for trying to perform Coldplay in Morse code. Gutfeld laughed at the idea of Schiff viewing himself as a martyr, as if he were Galileo being persecuted for speaking truth, when really he was just a political weathervane spinning wildly in the gusts of cable news hysteria. Gutfeld didn't hold back when tearing into Schiff's relationship with the media either. He painted him as a desperate ex who couldn't go a day without texting CNN at 2 a.m. with a breaking tip about foreign meddling, usually traced back to a mistranslated tweet from a Yugoslavian bot account. Schiff's thirst for airtime, Gutfeld quipped, could have irrigated all of California during a drought.
I'm Congressman Adam Schiff with some troubling news. Today, Kevin McCarthy removed me from the House Intelligence Committee, all for doing my job, for holding Trump accountable and standing up to the extreme MAGA Republicans. We knew it would be bad when the Republicans took over, but it's far worse than we expected.
Schiff didn't just chase relevance, he hunted it like a paparazzo stalking the lowest hanging scandal. And when Schiff dropped his book, Gutfeld had a field day. He imagined Adam writing it while staring into a mirror, whispering sweet nothings about impeachment, all set to a soundtrack of overly dramatic piano music. The perfect title. How to Say Everything and Prove Nothing. Gutfeld joked the book's primary source was a magic eye puzzle, and even then, the hidden image refused to appear. Then, flashing that trademark smirk, Greg zeroed in on Schiff's so-called legendary poker face, not because it was mysterious, but because it looked like someone caught eavesdropping through a keyhole who's now desperately pretending they were sleepwalking. Every time Schiff opened his mouth, Gutfeld quipped, you half expected a puff of dust and a minor ethics violation to tumble out.
Be censured, but to his credit, he's still the only member to have a 12-inch. Yeah, what do you think I was going to say? Being censored, which is basically an official serious scolding, is a punishment just below being expelled from Congress. But when Speaker McCarthy made the announcement, Democrats did what they do best, mindlessly screamed hysterical nonsense.
And still, Schiff keeps on marching unfazed by facts, untouched by accountability. Gutfeld compared him to a haunted fax machine, endlessly worry and spitting out pages of nonsense, all while convinced he's changing the world one smudged, illegible document at a time. The guy wouldn't recognize irony if it held a press conference on Capitol Hill. Yet there he stands, the self-appointed lighthouse warning ships of danger, while actively steering them straight onto the rocks. Gutfeld imagined Schiff's campaign slogans, Adam Schiff's still searching for that smoking gun, or vote for me, I haven't found collusion yet, but I'm feeling lucky. He joked that if Schiff ever opened a detective agency, it'd specialized in tracking down ghosts only he can see, each case ending the same way, with Schiff proudly presenting an empty folder, claiming it's classified because it contains the truth. And maybe, Gutfeld mused, that's the funniest part of all.
We're impeaching the president. We're just going to have to impeach him to find out. It's garbage. They know it. We know it. Good news, you know it too. So, do you want to see Tom Shalhoub did an amazing impression of Adam Schiff reading nursery rhymes? Let's do it. Okay.
Adam Schiff doesn't even realize he's become a parody of himself. He struts through the halls of Congress like he's the lead in a thriller, completely oblivious to the fact that the audience switched channels ages ago. He still believes he's the hero of a high-stakes legal drama, not knowing he's actually just a recurring character in a forgotten comedy nobody signed up to watch. Gutfeld closed the roast with a jab that Schiff's political career is like a TV show renewed. Out of pure habit, nothing new happens, the plot just loops in circles, and the only viewers left are the ones too lazy to change the channel. And there's Schiff, cue cards in hand, ready to deliver his next ominous warning about a crisis that doesn't exist, staring into the camera with the earnestness of an actor auditioning for a role that was never actually written for him.
I'm disgusted by him, but he didn't do this by himself, right? If you think about 2016 to 2020, the number of hoaxes that were created by the Democrats, but engineered really by the media. You had the Fine People hoax, you had the Russian hoax, the drinking bleach hoax, the white supremacy movement hoax. What happened to that? All of these things.
Or the hookers in the hotel room.
Yeah, well, that's a Steele dossier. And that is the Russian collusion. That's how it started.
Because at the end of the day, Greg Gutfeld didn't need to invent the comedy when roasting Adam Schiff. Schiff was the punchline all on his own. All Gutfeld had to do was wind him up, shine the spotlight, and watch the absurdity tumble downhill, like a snowball of sanctimony smashing into the walls of credibility. By the time he finished, The audience wasn't just laughing at Schiff, they were genuinely baffled as to how he ever got on stage to begin with. And somewhere behind closed doors, Schiff was probably holding a press conference about the roast itself, warning the public of foreign interference in the joke while clutching yet another blank folder. And the best part, Gutfeld hadn't even gotten to the second course yet.
Anonymous guy you will never ever see who has ties to Democrats. This is what the Dems stand for, and it might not sit well with half of America. And it's just another wide-eyed lie. Schiff knows with each passing day how absurd this story looks. So, better to hide it from you. So the Dems must now rely on a simply moronic retort. If you want to know why we're impeaching the president, we're just going to have to impeach him to find out. It's garbage. They know it. We know it. Good news, you know it too. So, do you want to see Tom Shalhoub did an amazing impression of Adam Schiff reading nursery rhymes?
Yeah, let's see it.
Let's do it.
Okay?
And just when you thought the circus had packed up, Schiff rolled out yet another act, this time dressing up selective leaks as noble whistleblowing. Gutfeld didn't just call it out, he laughed it into oblivion. He said, watching Schiff leak half-baked information to his favorite journalists was like watching a magician toss glitter in the air and claim it's a disappearing act. The only thing that ever truly vanished. Accountability. Schiff strutted around like a self-appointed crusader for justice. But behind that tight-lipped facade was a guy desperately Googling synonyms for impeachable. Gutfeld compared him to a wannabe Bond, villain minus the charisma, the plot, or any real gadgets. Unless you count printer paper soaked in innuendo. Schiff didn't just miss the mark, he wasn't even aiming in the right direction.